She drained our joint account and texted, "I'm leaving you. Good luck surviving." I replied, "You too." She didn't realize the account was set up as a business line of credit, solely in her name. The bank began calling her about the $80,000 debt within the hour. I, 31 male, was with Qley, 29, for 6 years, married for 3. The text came while I was at my desk job on a Thursday afternoon. "Just emptied our account. I'm leaving you for someone who actually has ambition. Good luck surviving without me. BTW already filed for divorce. Don't try to find me." I stared at my phone, then logged into our banking app. Sure enough, the account we'd been using for household expenses showed the previous balance, $80,000. Here's the thing about that account though. When we first moved in together 4 years ago, Qley insisted on handling finances. She was working at a bank then, said she knew all the tricks for maximizing interest, getting the best accounts, etc. I was young, in love, and honestly terrible with money stuff, so I agreed. She set up what she called our household account and added me as an authorized user. Said it was better than a regular joint account for tax purposes and credit building. I transferred my portion every month, she handled bills. Worked fine. What I didn't know until much later, and what Qley apparently still didn't realize, was that she'd actually opened a business line of credit, not a checking account, in her name only. As the sole proprietor of her consulting business that never really took off. I'd figured this out about 8 months ago when I finally started educating myself about finances, ironically, because Qley kept calling me financially illiterate. Noticed weird terms on a statement, did some Googling, called the bank pretending to be confused about our account type. The rep explained I was just an authorized user on a business credit line, not liable for any debts. Only the account owner, Qley, was responsible for repayment. I kept my mouth shut, kept transferring my half every month. But I also quietly opened my own personal checking account and started building an emergency fund, just in case. So when I saw that text, after the initial shock, I actually laughed. She'd just stolen $80,000 from herself, from a credit line she'd have to pay back, with interest. I texted back, "You too." Then I waited. Took exactly 73 minutes for my phone to explode. Qley calling, declined. Unknown number, probably her mom, declined. Qley calling, declined. Text from Qley, "What did you do?" Text from Qley, "The bank says I owe them money." Text from Lee, "This is your debt too." Text from Qley, "Answer your phone." I screenshot everything, then blocked her number. 20 minutes later, her sister Meredith called. I actually liked Meredith, so I answered. "Theo, what's happening?" Qley's hysterical. Something about the bank calling about a massive debt. "Meredith, your sister just drained what she thought was our joint account and sent me a text saying she's leaving me." Turns out it wasn't a joint account. It's a business credit line in her name. Long pause. She stole money from a credit line? Technically, she borrowed it from herself, and now she owes the bank $80,000 plus interest. But that was your money too. No, I was just an authorized user. I put money in monthly, which technically counted as payments toward the credit line. But the debt, that's all hers. You knew? Found out 8 months ago. Never thought she'd do something this stupid though. Meredith was quiet for a moment. "Theo, she's with someone else, has been for months. Some crypto guy named Blake she met at a conference. I figured as much. You need to help her with this debt situation." Why would I do that? She just stole what she thought was my money and left me for another man. Because it's the right thing to do. The right thing? Meredith, she literally tried to leave me with nothing. She thought I'd be broke and desperate. The only reason she's in trouble is because she didn't understand her own financial setup. I hung up. Update 1. The entitlement has reached astronomical levels. First, Qley tried the legal route. Had some bargain basement lawyer send me a letter demanding I pay half the debt as it was marital funds. My lawyer, yes, I'd already retained one, responded with a simple statement. I was an authorized user, not a cosigner. The debt predated our marriage since she opened the account before we wed. Not my problem. Then came the emotional manipulation via her parents. Her dad, Robert, actually showed up at my apartment building. Doorman called up. "There's a Robert here to see you, says it's urgent. Tell him I'm not available." Could hear Robert yelling from the lobby about man-to-man conversations and doing the honorable thing. Security eventually escorted him out. But here's where it gets really interesting. Remember Blake, the crypto guy? Well, Meredith reached out again with some tea. Apparently, Qley had told Blake she was getting at least $80,000 in the divorce, plus alimony, plus half my 401k. She'd been spinning this tale of being married to a tech executive, I work in IT support, who was loaded but cheap. Blake thought he was getting a sugar mama. When Qley told him about the debt situation, he bounced. Literally ghosted her within 24 hours. She tried to move into the apartment he'd been renting for them. Yeah, she'd already signed a lease with him. But surprise, he'd never actually put her name on it. The landlord wouldn't let her in without Blake's permission, and Blake had already told them she was no longer authorized. So now Qley was homeless, 80K in debt, and single. Did I feel bad? For about 0.3 seconds. Then I remembered the good luck surviving text and went back to eating my cereal. But Qley wasn't done. Oh no, she created a whole victim narrative online, posted on social media about how her financially abusive ex-husband tricked her into debt. How I'd manipulated the banking system to trap her. Problem was, she'd forgotten that several of our mutual friends worked in finance. Her former coworker from the bank, Jerome, actually commented, "Qley, you literally worked in banking. You opened that account yourself. I remember you bragging about the rewards points." She deleted the post, but screenshots were already circulating. Then came the truly pathetic attempt. She reached out to my mom. My mom. Trying to get her to convince me to help with the debt. My mom's response was legendary. She sent me the screenshot. "Qley, Mrs. Davidson, Theo won't help me with this misunderstanding about our finances. As his mother, could you talk sense into him? The same sense you had when you were cheating on my son with that crypto fool? That kind of sense? Delete my number." But the peak entitlement came yesterday. I got a call from the bank. Not about the debt, about Qley trying to report the authorized user card as fraud. She claimed I'd somehow stolen from the credit line without her knowledge. The bank rep sounded tired. "Sir, we've reviewed the account history. Every transaction from your card was for regular household expenses, groceries, utilities, etc. Does she really want us to investigate this as fraud?" "What happens if you do?" "Well, filing a false fraud report is a federal crime, and since she sent text messages admitting to taking the money, she withdrew $80,000 at once. How is that not flagged?" Business credit lines have different rules. It was technically her available credit, but now she owes it back with interest. The rate is substantial. How substantial? 24.99% APR. I actually choked on my coffee. At that rate, if she only made minimum payments, she'd be paying forever. Update 2. The spiral accelerated faster than I expected. Qley's lawyer dropped her after she couldn't pay the retainer. She tried representing herself in our first divorce hearing. Showed up in designer clothes, probably bought with the stolen money, and demanded alimony because she was accustomed to a certain lifestyle. The judge looked at her financial records, saw the $80,000 withdrawal, saw her texts admitting to taking it, saw that she'd been employed full-time until she quit 2 weeks ago, apparently thought she wouldn't need to work after cleaning me out. "Judge, ma'am, you withdrew $80,000 from a credit line, quit your job, and now want your ex-husband to support you?" He tricked me. He knew it was a credit line. "Did he force you to open the account?" "No, but..." "Did he force you to withdraw the money?" "No, but he should have told me." "You set up the account. You managed it for years. You work in banking. Ignorance of your own financial instruments is not your ex-husband's responsibility." Zero alimony. She actually owes Emmy money because she drained accounts that had marital funds in them. The $80 included my contributions over the years. But here's where Qley's entitlement went nuclear. She started calling my employer daily, claiming I'd stolen from her, that I was dangerous, that they should be aware they employed a financial predator. HR pulled me in for a meeting. I explained the situation, showed them the divorce papers, her texts, everything. They were actually sympathetic, but said the calls were disruptive. That's when I played my ace. See, I'd been recording everything, legal in my state with one-party consent. including a voicemail where Qley explicitly said, "I'm going to call your job every day until you pay my debt. I'll make up whatever I need to. They'll fire you eventually." HR's face went pale. Legal got involved. They sent Qley a cease and desist. She violated it within 48 hours. My company pressed charges for harassment. But wait, there's more. The bank started collection proceedings. Qley missed her first payment because she'd blown through most of the $80,000 already. How? Well, according to Meredith, who was thoroughly disgusted with her sister at this point, first-class tickets to Costa Rica for her and Blake, $12. Designer shopping spree, $15,000. Deposit on a luxury apartment she couldn't actually afford, $8,000. New car down payment, $10. Couldn't get approved for the loan though. Cosmetic procedures she'd been wanting, $7. The rest went to hotels, restaurants, and investing in Blake's crypto scheme. When the bank started calling about missed payments, she tried to negotiate. Claimed financial hardship. They asked for proof of income. She had none. She'd quit her job, remember? They accelerated the debt. Full $80 plus accumulated interest due immediately. Qley's solution? She tried to get Robert to co-sign a consolidation loan. He refused. She tried her mom. Also refused. Even Meredith said no. Then she hit absolute rock bottom of shamelessness. She started a crowdfunding campaign. Help a domestic abuse survivor recover from financial exploitation. I kid you not. The campaign included photos of her crying, a completely fabricated story about how I'd manipulated her into debt through complex financial schemes, and a request for $100K to rebuild her life. It raised $37 in 3 days. Someone donated $2 with the comment lol. Meredith sent me screenshots of Qley melting down in their family group chat, demanding everyone share the campaign, calling them unsupportive when they refused. Her own aunt responded, "Qley, everyone knows what you did. Stop embarrassing yourself." Update 3. The legal consequences started hitting. Remember the harassment charges? Qley got arrested at her parents' house. Robert had to bail her out. The conditions included no contact with me or my employer. She violated those conditions within a week by creating fake email accounts to send anonymous tips to my company about my criminal behavior. IT traced them back to her IP address. Back to jail. This time, Robert didn't bail her out immediately. Let her sit for 48 hours to think about her choices. Meanwhile, the divorce was finalized. She got her personal belongings, her car, that she was making payments on. 40% of the marital assets would have been 50%, but the judge factored in the $80 she took. I kept. The apartment was mine before marriage. My 401k, protected since she withdrew the $80K. My sanity. She had to pay. The $80K credit line debt. My legal fees. Judge ruled her behavior was malicious. Court costs. The total she owed between the bank and legal fees? About $95. Her solution was spectacular in its stupidity. She tried to declare bankruptcy. Except, she'd transferred some assets to her parents to hide them before filing. The bankruptcy trustee found out, of course they did. It's their job. That's bankruptcy fraud. A federal crime. She panicked and withdrew the bankruptcy petition, but now she was under investigation. During all this, she was still living with Robert and her mom. From what Meredith told me, it was rough. Qley expected to be treated like a victim. Instead, her parents made her get a job. She's now working retail, pay rent, do chores, attend financial literacy classes. The irony. She lasted 2 weeks before having a meltdown about how everyone was punishing her for falling in love with Blake, who hadn't contacted her since disappearing. Then came the last desperate play. She reached out to my ex-girlfriend from college, Amber, on social media, tried to convince her that I was some kind of financial mastermind who'd conned them both, wanted to team up to expose me. Amber's response was perfect. She sent me the screenshots. "Qley, I dated Theo for 2 years. He's literally the most straightforward person I know. We broke up because we wanted different things, not because he's some evil genius. Also, girl, you stole $80K and got caught. Take the L and move on." But my absolute favorite part? Last week, I ran into Blake at a coffee shop. He tried to avoid me, but we ended up in line together. So I said, "How's the crypto going?" He looked embarrassed. "Look, man, I didn't know she was married at first. Don't care, but I am curious. Did she ever invest in your scheme?" "Yeah, about $15K. How'd that work out? The coin crashed. It's worth maybe $300 now. I actually laughed out loud in the coffee shop. Final update. The conclusion is both pathetic and predictable. Qley's debt to the bank went to collections. Her credit score is destroyed. She'll be dealing with this for the next decade minimum. The harassment charges resulted in 18 months probation and mandatory anger management classes. She has a criminal record now. Her job at the retail store lasted 6 weeks. She got fired for berating a customer who she claimed looked at her judgmentally. Now she's working at a call center, ironically doing collections. She tried one more Hail Mary, reached out to me through a mutual friend asking if we could start over, said she'd learned her lesson, and Blake meant nothing. My response through the friend, tell her I said good luck surviving. The mutual friend later told me Qley went ballistic, screaming about how I'd ruined her life and set her up. Robert finally kicked her out after she tried to steal checks from his checkbook. She's now living with a cousin who charges her market rate rent and requires first and last month up front. Meredith and I actually still talk occasionally. She told me Qley recently said at a family dinner that she was the victim of a sophisticated financial conspiracy and that I'd probably been planning this for years. Her uncle, who's an accountant, responded, "Qley, you opened a credit line, forgot it was a credit line, stole from it, and got caught. The only conspiracy here is how you graduated from college." As for me, I'm doing fine. Kept my job, my apartment, my retirement savings. Started dating Jade, a woman from my rock climbing gym who actually understands how bank accounts work. The 80-teller Qley stole? Well, technically she stole it from herself, and I'd only contributed about $20 of that over the years in monthly payments. The bank considered those legitimate payments toward the credit line. So really, she played herself. Last I heard through the grapevine, she's in debt for the next 15+ years. Living paycheck to paycheck, Blake is being investigated by the SEC for his crypto scheme. Her parents barely speak to her. She's banned from 3 local banks for aggressive behavior. Still posts vague quotes about surviving betrayal on social media. The moral of the story? If you're going to drain a joint account and leave your partner with a "good luck surviving" message, maybe make sure you actually understand what kind of account it is first. And definitely make sure it's not a credit line in your name only. Because turns out, karma doesn't need my help. Sometimes idiots destroy themselves with their own entitlement. Good luck surviving, Qley. You're gonna need it for the next 15 years of monthly payments. Edit. Since people keep asking, yes, this is all legal. No, I had no obligation to warn her. She set up the account. She managed it. She worked in banking. Her ignorance of her own financial instruments isn't my responsibility, especially after she tried to leave me with nothing. Edit 2. For those saying I should have told her, she literally sent me a text saying she was leaving me and to good luck surviving after stealing what she thought was our money. Why would I help someone who did that? Edit 3. Qley, if you're reading this, and Meredith says you've been hate searching my username, that financial literacy class you're taking, pay attention. Might help with the next 180 monthly payments you've got left. She filed a restraining order claiming I was emotionally abusive for questioning her spending. I didn't contest it, just closed all the cards and canceled the lease I was guaranteeing. Her lawyer called 72 hours later begging to work something out. I, 31 male, got served with a restraining order on a Thursday afternoon at my office. The receptionist called me down looking uncomfortable. Process server handed me the papers like he'd done it 1,000 times before. My girlfriend Sienna, 28, of 3 years had filed an emergency protective order claiming I was emotionally and financially abusive. Her evidence? Text messages where I asked why she spent $1,800 at Nordstrom when she said she was broke, and an email where I suggested we create a budget. I read through it in the lobby, according to Sienna, asking, "Hey, didn't you say you couldn't afford your car payment?" After seeing her with new designer shoes constituted controlling behavior and emotional manipulation. The kicker was her statement. He monitors every purchase I make and interrogates me about money constantly, creating a hostile environment where I fear his reactions. Reality check. She had 4 credit cards in her name that I was paying. Her apartment lease had my name as guarantor because her credit was shot. Her car insurance was on my policy. I'd been covering her temporary expenses for 2 years. But sure, asking one question about spending was abuse. The restraining order required me to stay 100 yards away, no contact, direct or indirect, effective immediately. I didn't argue, didn't call her, didn't text. I walked back to my office, pulled up my banking apps, and got to work. The immediate response within an hour: I'd canceled all 4 credit cards. They were in her name, but I was the one making payments, perfectly legal to stop. Removed her as authorized driver from my insurance policy. Called her apartment complex about removing myself as lease guarantor, 30-day notice required. Stopped the automatic transfers I'd set up for her expenses. Changed my Netflix, Hulu, HBO, and Disney Plus passwords. Removed her phone from my family plan. Effective next billing cycle. The apartment situation was interesting. I wasn't on the lease as a tenant, just the guarantor. The property manager, Adrienne, was surprisingly helpful. So if you're withdrawing as guarantor, she'll need to qualify on her own or find a new guarantor within 30 days. What if she can't? Then she'll need to vacate or face eviction proceedings. Perfect. I documented everything, forwarding confirmations to my personal email. Then I went back to work. Had a presentation at 3 p.m., nailed it. That evening, my phone was quiet. Eerily quiet. The restraining order was working both ways. She couldn't contact me either. Update 1, Saturday morning, 8 a.m. My phone rings. Unknown number. It's a lawyer named Bradley Hutchins. Mr. Torres, I'm representing Miss Sienna Blackwood. I believe there's been a misunderstanding regarding the protective order. What misunderstanding? The order was very clear, no contact. Yes, well, my client has discovered some complications. Several of her financial accounts seem to have been closed. I stopped making voluntary payments on her credit cards. Yes. But she relied on those payments. Then she should have thought about that before filing a restraining order claiming I was abusive for asking about those very payments. Silence. Mr. Torres, surely we can work something out. My client is willing to modify the order to allow for financial discussions. No need. I'm complying fully with the order. No contact means no contact, including no financial support. But the lease, I've given proper notice to withdraw as guarantor. That's not contact with her, that's contact with the property management company. This is retaliatory. This is compliance. She said my financial involvement was abusive. I'm removing myself from the abusive situation. Isn't that what she wanted? He sputtered something about bad faith and financial abuse. Bradley, she filed a legal document claiming I was abusive. I'm respecting her wishes by staying away completely. Have a good weekend. I hung up. 20 minutes later, texts started flooding in from her friends. I didn't read them, just screenshot them. Violating restraining orders goes both ways. They were contacting me on her behalf. Update 2, Monday morning brought chaos. First, an email from Bradley. Lawyers can contact me, apparently, with a formal letter demanding I reinstate financial support during this transition period. My reply was brief. Per the restraining order, I cannot have any contact or relationship with Ms. Blackwood. Financial support would constitute a relationship. Please advise your client I am fully complying with the court order. Then came the social media storm, but not the usual kind. Sienna's best friend Qley posted on Instagram, when toxic men use money to control women after being called out for abuse, half financial abuse, half narcissistic abuse. Except Qley made a crucial mistake. She included screenshots of Sienna's texts to her, including, "He canceled everything. I can't even watch Netflix. I told you the restraining order would make him pay attention, but now he won't even pay my cards. The lawyer says, since he's not legally obligated, he can just stop." This backfired so bad. Someone sent me the screenshots. I forwarded them to my lawyer, hired him Saturday afternoon. But the real entertainment came Tuesday evening. Adrienne from the apartment complex called. "Mr. Torres, I'm required to inform you that Ms. Blackwood has not provided alternative qualification or a new guarantor. She has 23 days remaining. Understood. Please confirm my guarantee ends as scheduled." It will, but she came in today with her mother. There was an incident. Oh. Her mother, Mrs. Blackwood, attempted to forge your signature on a guarantee renewal form. I sat up straight. Excuse me? We have cameras, and your signature on file. It was obviously forged. We've referred the matter to our legal department and local authorities. Holy crap. Update 3. Sienna's mother, Lois, tried to contact me through my LinkedIn professional networking site not covered by restraining order, apparently. Her message: Evan, this is ridiculous. You and Sienna had a small disagreement and now you're destroying her life. Be a man and fix this. I didn't respond, just screenshot it. My lawyer, Harrison, different Harrison from my last story for anyone keeping track, was having a field day. She filed a false restraining order. We can prove that from her own texts. Her mother attempted forgery. They're harassing you through third parties. We could countersue. Let's wait. I want to see how this plays out. Wednesday brought more escalation. Sienna's car got repossessed. Not my doing. Turns out she hadn't made a payment in 4 months. She'd been using the money I gave her for the car payment on other things. Without my weekly transfers, she couldn't even make a partial payment to stop the repo. Qley posted about this too. Now he's taking her car. This is abuse. Someone in the comments pointed out, wait, if he's taking her car, doesn't that mean he was paying for it? How is stopping paying for someone else's car abuse? Qley deleted the post. Thursday, Sienna's credit cards started declining. She'd maxed them out in 3 days of panic shopping, thinking I'd cave and pay them off like always. Bradley called again. Mr. Torres, my client is prepared to drop the restraining order. I don't consent to that. What? The restraining order is for her protection, right? I don't want to make her feel unsafe. It should remain in place. But you can agree to mutual dissolution. No, I'm good. I've adjusted my life to comply with the order. No reason to change now. She's going to be evicted. That's unfortunate, but I can't be involved in her housing situation. That would violate the order. He hung up on me. Update 4. The forgery charge was official. Lois Blackwood was arrested at her yoga class. According to the police report, public record, she'd tried to forge my signature on multiple documents, not just the lease guarantee. She'd also attempted to add herself to my car insurance policy as Sienna's guardian. Sienna is 28, and tried to open a credit card in my name. That last one upgraded the charges from forgery to identity theft. Sienna, of course, claimed she had no knowledge of her mother's actions. But text messages between them, subpoenaed by the police, showed otherwise. Mom, just sign it. He won't know. His signature is easy. I've seen it 100 times. If you do the insurance thing, I can get my car back. Bradley withdrew as her lawyer. Apparently, being party to identity theft discussions was an ethics violation he couldn't ignore. Her new lawyer, some ambulance chaser named Rick, sent a demand letter for emergency support citing dire circumstances. Harrison responded beautifully. Our client notes that requesting financial support from someone Ms. Blackwood claims is abusive would put her in danger. We cannot in good conscience facilitate such a dangerous situation. Meanwhile, I was living my best life. Started taking cooking classes with the money I wasn't spending on Sienna. Posted a few photos on Instagram, nothing petty, just me making pasta from scratch. Sienna's friend Daria messaged me, "You're really gonna let her be homeless over a stupid fight?" I replied, "I'm respecting her need for protection from my alleged abuse. Would you prefer I violate a restraining order?" She blocked me. Update 5. Things got weird. And by weird, I mean hilarious. Sienna started a GoFundMe, help a DV survivor escape financial abuse. Her story was compelling. Evil ex-boyfriend cut her off financially after she stood up to his abuse. She needed money for a new apartment, car, basic necessities. She raised $73 in 3 days. Then someone, not me, posted her Instagram history in the comments. Designer bags, expensive dinners, trips to wine country, all posted in the past year with captions like "Blessed to have a man who spoils me," and "When he surprises you with YSL." The GoFundMe got taken down for fraud. But the best part was when her dad reached out. Frederick Blackwood, divorced from Lois for 10 years, hadn't talked to me before. "Evan, this is Fred, Sienna's father. I heard about the situation." "Mr. Blackwood, I can't discuss. I'm not calling about that. I'm calling to apologize. I know what my daughter is like. I went through this with her mother. The restraining order, the false accusations, the financial manipulation. It's like watching a rerun." Turns out Lois had pulled the same stunt on Fred during their divorce. False abuse claims, tried to get him arrested, forged his signature on loans. I just wanted you to know you're doing the right thing. Don't cave. They'll escalate until they realize you won't break, then they'll move on to the next target. He was right about the escalation. Update 6. Eviction day was approaching. Sienna was desperate. She did something I didn't expect. She called my mother. My mom, Rosa, is a saint. Also, she takes no crap from anyone. According to my mom, the conversation went, Sienna, Mrs. Torres, Evan won't even talk to me. Because you have a restraining order against him. That was a misunderstanding. Mom, you filed legal documents saying my son was abusive. I didn't mean it. Then you committed perjury? No, he was being controlling. By paying all your bills, Sienna, he questioned my spending. Of his money? Sienna hung up. My mom called me afterward, laughing. That girl is something else. You dodged a bullet, Mijo. But Sienna wasn't done. Day 24, she showed up at my office. Security stopped her at the door. I'd informed them about the restraining order. She made a scene, started crying about how I was destroying her life and she just wanted to talk. Security called the police. She got arrested for violating the restraining order. The same restraining order she'd filed against me. That she was now violating. You can't make this stuff up. Sienna spent a night in jail. Lois bailed her out and immediately called a press conference. I'm not kidding. A press conference. Outside the courthouse. 3 reporters showed up, probably expecting a slow newsday story. Lois gave a speech about financial abuse in modern relationships and how men weaponize money to control women. One reporter asked, Ma'am, aren't you currently under indictment for identity theft and forgery? That's not relevant to you allegedly forged this man's signature to steal money. How is that different from financial abuse? I was protecting my daughter by committing fraud. The press conference ended quickly. The footage never aired, but someone posted it on Twitter. It went moderately viral in legal circles as how not to handle PR during criminal proceedings. Meanwhile, Adrienne called with an update. Miss Blackwood has been formally evicted as of this morning. She has 48 hours to vacate. Did she find alternative housing? She applied for several places. All rejected her after running credit and background checks. The recent arrest didn't help. I felt a tiny twinge of sympathy. Then I remembered the restraining order accusation, and it passed. Final update. The conclusion was almost anticlimactic. Sienna moved back with Lois, who was out on bail. Their apartment was a 1-bedroom in a sketchy part of town, quite a downgrade from Sienna's luxury apartment I'd been guaranteeing. The restraining order was still in effect. Sienna tried to have it dismissed, but the judge noted her violation of it and decided it should remain for both parties' protection. Rick, her new lawyer, made one last attempt. Mr. Torres, Ms. Blackwood is prepared to sign a document stating the abuse allegations were exaggerated if you provide 6 months of financial assistance for rehabilitation. Rehabilitation from what? Financial adjustment disorder. You just made that up. She's suffering from consequences. This is cruel. This is accountability. He gave up after that. I ran into Qley at Whole Foods. She tried to duck into the cereal aisle, but we made eye contact. How's Sienna? I asked, genuinely curious. Qley looked uncomfortable. She's working, retail, living with her mom. Good for her. She really did care about you, you know. She just got scared when you started asking about money. Scared enough to file false abuse allegations? That was Lois's idea. She said it would make you realize how serious Sienna was about needing space. Space for my questions, but not for my wallet. Qley winced. Yeah, it sounds bad when you put it like that. How else would you put it? She didn't have an answer. Later I learned through the grapevine. Lois pled guilty to forgery, got probation and community service. Sienna's credit score dropped to 420. She was working at a department store, living with Lois. She'd started dating a new guy who she was already asking to help with expenses. The restraining order was still active, expires in 9 more months. Frederick reached out one more time. Heard you held your ground. Good man. She's already working on the next guy. Gary something. Poor bastard has no idea what's coming. As for me, I took the money I'd been spending on Sienna, roughly $3,500 a month, and increased my 401k contributions. Started a legitimate investment portfolio. Took that cooking class series, bought a really nice espresso machine, still had money left over. The restraining order remains my favorite ironic souvenir. She filed it to manipulate me into submission. Instead, it gave me the perfect excuse to cut her off completely. No guilt, no arguments, no gradual process, just instant, court-ordered disconnection. Her own weapon became my freedom. To anyone in a similar situation, when someone shows you who they are, especially through legal documents, believe them. Don't try to save them from consequences. Don't feel guilty about protecting yourself. And if someone ever threatens you with a restraining order to control you, call their bluff. Comply fully, completely, absolutely. They wanted distance? Give them the entire universe. Sometimes the best response to manipulation isn't resistance. It's enthusiastic compliance that reveals their true intentions. Sienna wanted me gone, but my money to stay. The restraining order made that legally impossible. She played herself with paperwork. Cool? Cool. P.S. To the 3 people who messaged me saying I was actually abusive for cutting her off. She literally filed legal documents saying my financial involvement was abuse. I agreed and removed it. If that's abuse, then I'm confused about what she actually wanted. P.P.S. Yes, this is all legal. No, stopping voluntary payments isn't violating any law. No, refusing to be someone's ATM isn't abuse. Die mad about it.